Welcome back, pet parents. Today's episode is going to be so fun because a lot of us in the healthy pet space, we think alike. That's true. But sometimes we get to meet and bring on people who are really, really special. And I love bringing you veterinarians who are a little bit more holistically inclined. And I have another veterinarian for you today who's doing some really amazing work in educating pet parents in so many different ways. And I think our messages align really, really well. So welcome to the Pet Parenting Reset, Dr. Jeff Feinman of Holistic Actions. Thank you for being here.
For having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you, and thank you all for listening.
Yeah, well, so we were just chatting a little bit before I hit record, how, for me, it's the foundation of health is food and food therapy. And in that same kind of vein, I have this philosophy that nature provides. So anytime we're looking for any solution to any, can we look to nature to see how this would be resolved in nature? And that doesn't necessarily mean adding something. It could also mean taking something away that doesn't belong. But what can we do? How can we look at nature to provide for us? And that is in so many different ways, not just with food or supplements, but also with how we connect to ourselves, how we connect to our pets, grounding, being in the moment. There's a lot of, spiritual practices that we can bring into that. And I think all of that together kind of also talks a little bit about, your mission and your message and what you do with Holistic Actions. And I'd like for you to talk a little bit about Holistic Actions, but can you first tell our listeners just a little bit about you and how you found more holistic modalities in your practice?
Sure, I would be honored to, and I guess I would need to go back to 1975 to do that, but I know we don't have too long, so I'll speed it up. Just say I was always an animal lover. I never had any desire to do anything other than to be a veterinarian. As a kid, I had a very large natural curiosity, so I was doing all kinds of stuff, but I had two passions as a kid, and they stuck for years and years, and that was magic and learning about magic and science. So I had my science stuff and my magic stuff. I actually still have a magic box, which is all the magic stuff that I took with me over the years. So I did end up as a scientist in 78. I was doing molecular biology work on individuality of cells. This was before the days when they knew, what we know now that we'll talk about later. But anyway, took that research, went to vet school, was planning on a career in academia, so started specializing in internal medicine and endocrinology and did my internship and worked in an ER and started a house call practice, all based on conventional medicine and what I learned throughout all those years. And then I began observing my patients. As a house call vet, I got to be in people's homes in the 80s, which was an incredible honor in this area because I got to visit with, people with some very nice homes and notable people. But their animals were getting better from what I was doing. Then they get sick again, getting better, getting sick again. And I began to realize that there was something else that was needed. And one of those days, I was doing a house call in Greenwich, and one of my clients with the severe rheumatoid arthritis that had done the same thing. She'd been through all the drugs. She'd been to a number of top rheumatologists. Finally, one of them recommended that she start to use over-the-counter weird things called fish oils, and that pretty much resolved most for rheumatoid arthritis without any drugs. So that started my journey in the 80s into the rabbit hole of natural therapies. I started Guy back in the days when Nupea was an SOD precursor, and I became a big supplement guy combined with big nutrition guy, and developed the 3 words for nutrition that I still believe in today, and those are a fresh food diet, varied as much as possible, and in moderation, enough to keep those chronic conditions at bay. And I was doing more and more reading. These were the days before Dr. Google, so I was reading the textbooks and discovered that there's a whole other paradigm in medicine that was saving lives that we didn't even learn about in vet school. And that paradigm was the energetic paradigm, based on the simple fact that every cell in every living being needs energy to live. Very clear cut. Energy, life, no energy, no life. So, acupuncture and Ayurveda and homeopathy were all things that were based on that. And P.S., they were also the foundation of thousands of years of medical practice. And when I started bringing that into my practice in the 90s, everything changed. And about a decade ago, I slowed down my private practice so we could start doing more and more online education and empowering you all, because the energy paradigm is not one that you need to go to vet school for or med school for or have any biology background. It's common sense, and it's a B2B approach. B2B for me is back to basics. And it's just what you said, it's all nature-inspired actions. So it's basically been reverse engineering balance of nature and how it can help animals. That's where we are today.
Yeah, it's so fascinating to me because the truth that we see that our media and our governments, if it is natural, if we can look and see that, like, if we just lived this way, if we could tune in and realize that everything is energy, what nature provides to, like, people can't make money on it, so they like demonize it and they make it seem taboo and like you're the weirdo if you are into energy, right? Like, but the reality is that everything is energy, and you can't, like, it only transfers. You can't, it doesn't die. It moves between things. And it's such a fascinating topic that most people are just even scared to take the time to start to research it because they don't want to be taboo, right? But it can make such a huge difference. How have you seen it make such a huge difference in our pets' lives?
I guess there are 2 ways of looking at that. There's the pure scientific way, in that energy in the body is provided by mitochondria. And what we've learned in science is that pretty much every disease is mitochondrial energy disease. I've got a genetic brain condition myself. It's a mitochondrial energy disease. Pretty much every cell, not pretty much, every cell in the body needs energy to work, and they almost all have mitochondria except for like red blood cells, which don't live very long because they don't have mitochondria. But that's another story. And I totally diverted from your question, so repeat the second part of your question.
No, just how do you see this type of work, this type of thinking and paradigm shift help our pets?
And thank you for getting me back on track,
Yeah.
because mitochondria are a big part of the fundamental picture, but the bigger picture is spirit. Spirit, love, is energy. The unconditional love that we share with our animals is perhaps the most powerful healing energy that we can all harness for free. And you're right, because it's free, it's not really patentable.
Yeah,
So, I always say just go out and get a vitamin V. Vitamin V is vitality. Vitamin V and vitality is provided by love.
that's really sweet. But yes, can make such a huge difference. I mean, when you said that, it made me think back to like, the psychology studies of infants and, if they don't receive love, if they don't receive care, human touch and interaction, like how differently they develop than the infants that do receive that love and care and human touch and interact. Like it makes such a huge difference in so many ways.
In a lot of ways, for sure. And whether it's a end of life person or animal, I mean, how many times have we seen patients that are nonverbal, responding to the touch and love of an animal? It's like
Mhm.
starting to talk again. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's very, very amazing the power that there is there in everybody's home, every pet parent's home.
Yes, very, very much so. I do want to talk more about holistic actions and what you do there. But we were kind of starting to talk a little bit before we recorded about what is currently going on in veterinary medicine. And I know there are certain holistic veterinarians who have really started to try to like get this word out to people like it's bad and it's only getting worse and we have to empower ourselves and we have to take responsibility because we are not only losing vets faster than we thought. So like when the pandemic crisis, a lot of older veterinarians retired prematurely. We also have fewer people in vet school. And then to top all of that off, there are so many corporate takeovers of private practices. So even a lot of veterinarians, very well meaning veterinarians, they just can't compete with it. They're burnt out, they're overworked, they're underpaid. And, corporate medicine takes over, which is very, as we all know, like checkbox medicine. And this is wrong, give this medicine. And it's this date, so you need this vaccine, which is insanity, but it is what it is. And it's a crisis, and it's a crisis that's only getting worse. How do you see that? Like even in the next 10 years, what are your thoughts on this? What do you think we're heading towards? What are we going to see?
Thank you so much for asking. Nobody's ever asked that question, and I'm going to tell you what I see. From my perspective, I see the trend reversing. I see more and more people becoming veterinarians because we're able to, with the new model that's being worked on now, we're able to keep it as a heart-based practice. And the reason I think so many vets are burning out is that we almost all go into vet medicine because we love animals, because we're heart-based. We
Mm-hmm.
come out after 4 years head-based, information-based, checklist-based, as you described. And yeah, the corporate merry-go-round is making that even worse, and that is kind of the path that we're on right now, but it's not sustainable. They're currently approving new vet schools by the dozen. I think like the number of vet schools are probably going to double in the next couple of years because of that shortage.
That's awesome.
But I don't think that's going to fix the problem until we start incorporating energy, mitochondria into the vet school curriculum, and it is starting to happen, but it's just micro doses right now. But there are a new class of pet professional that can act as a veterinary technician, that can act as a holistic pet health coach, kind of go between, the standard veterinary work and the reality of what we can really do for our pets. Because, what we learn when we come out of vet school is a fraction of what is available. I mean, I myself, only use what I learned for diagnostic and prognostic information. I don't think any therapies that I use right now I learned in vet school. Certainly not nutrition, certainly not happiness, certainly not the power of breathing or connection or love or, Anyway, that's a very tall soapbox for me.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that because, and I appreciate at least a semi-positive outlook on it, in that, more vet schools and hoping to get, more vet students into these vet schools. And I do know, I remember Angela Ardolino with CBD Dog Health. She gets to speak at some of these veterinary schools, but a lot of times it is like holistic groups of students who are asking her to come in like on their lunch breaks and things like that. But that's still really promising because these students can still see the value, even though it's not in their curriculum. They can take that out into the world, into their practice, and continue educating themselves and bringing more of a holistic mindset into their practices. So yeah, that could be very promising.
Yeah, every little bit definitely is important. There are one or two vet schools that have it in the curriculum. The more holistic paradigm and even the energy paradigm is in one school I know of, but I don't think it's in the curriculum. I think they're all electives. So, my goal would be for it to be part of the core, like first year of vet school. I mean, frankly, I'm getting at high school students and pre-vet students before they go to vet school because they need that context. Before the brains get, I'm not going to say it, Gabor Mate, an MD said it, they're brainwashed.
Right.
It's like we're coming out of vet school or medical school and we're joining a cult because we only can do it the way that we were taught. It's the one right way. And, the definition of being a holistic doc is keeping an open mind and seeing the bigger, how everything connects. And that's what we're learning in science, is that everything is connected. That our hearts and our brains are connected to a greater universal source of energy, spirit, and it's all coming together, Jessica. I'm very optimistic.
There we go. I love that. So, for pet parents today, what are some of the things that you would like to see or that you would like to tell them to do to prepare potentially for not having, even if it's a shorter period of time than what we were thinking, like not having as much access to veterinary care? Or what kind of things do you hope for pet parents to empower them to realize that they really do have a whole lot more control than they think they have?
Well, you've said the number one thing right there, and that is to realize that they are the quarterback of their vet care team. That's really all about team building. Your conventional vet can help inform the process, but you've got the final decision. And it's very important to have all the information, not getting into the weeds of physiology or nutrition or supplements, but just know what's available out there. What HA, Holistic Actions, founded on something called HMDM, which stands for Holistic Medical Decision Making. The first step is decide what your goal is. Is your goal to just get rid of that symptom? Is your goal to treat the underlying cause? Or is your goal to preserve life in an emergency? So yeah, that's my number one thing, is to at least, and that's actually why I'm on with you today, is just to get the word out that there's another way. That there's a whole other paradigm that is the basis of life that we need to pull into veterinary medicine. And then the second thing I'd recommend everyone is learn to use the 4 awesome A's. And the 4 awesome A's are 4 homeopathic medicines. So they're energetic medicines that will treat help 80% of the emergencies, whether it's a bug bite or an injury or vomiting or diarrhea or fever or cough, or those 4 A's: arnica, aconite, arsenicum album, and apis. And you can all go out to your health food store and buy them all for $25 or less, and probably prevent at least one ER visit a year. I hear frequently that a dog or cat had an emergency. They went to the ER, and on the way to the ER, they gave one of the 4 Osmays. When he got to the ER, they just sent them home because there was nothing there wrong anymore.
I've heard that too, from various sources, that the power of homeopathy, and I've just dabbled in it because I think it does take. I mean, you can do a lot as a pet parent and learn a lot, but it is very individualized, and so I haven't dabbled in it so much to be like a professional at it for sure. But the power of homeopathy really is incredible to me, like astonishing, like otherworldly almost to me.
It's beyond what we call them miracles, but it's really not a miracle. It's just the healing of the body, which we're not even close to knowing what is possible. I mean, I spent the past 10 years studying human homeopathy and have seen just amazing things with people. And the book I was referring to earlier was actually a chapter in a book about homeopathy, and the reason I got into it was when I read the references, a lot of the references back to the epidemics of the 1800s before they had antibiotics, and homeopathy would save 95% of the people, and there was a mortality rate of 80%. So if you used homeopathy, you lived. If you didn't, you didn't live. And actually, the AMA came into existence, partially at least, to ban the MDs from becoming homeopaths because they were losing all the MDs to the American Institute of Homeopathy, which was the first homeopath, the first medical group in the country, the AIH, and they still exist.
Oh, but they were targeted. Well, oh, my brain just drew a blank. Was it Rockefeller?
It was Rockefeller.
Yeah.
And the Flexen report that he helped to, there was a hospital right down, I went to University of Pennsylvania, and right down the road was Hahnemann Hospital. Samuel Hahnemann is the founder of homeopathy. No more Samuel Hahnemann Hospital.
What a shame. Yeah. What a shame.
And there's dozens, if not hundreds, of homeopathic schools and hospitals in India, in Germany, in Switzerland, but not in the US yet. They will be coming back.
Yeah, I do kind of feel that. I feel like this shift. And I know, again, some people have a hard time. Maybe it's that they have a hard time connecting to their own inner voice. And so they have a hard time connecting to the world around them and being able to bring in these ideas that we've kind of lost over time through industrialization and different capitalistic movements and things like that. But where was I going with that? Oh Lord. Okay, where was I going with that? Oh yeah, there does seem to be like an awakening in lots of different ways. I see it with people not necessarily applying it to their pets yet, but I know that it's a road. Like it's a journey. Some people start with themselves, some people start with their pets, and it just kind of eventually we all figure out, oh, if it works for me, it works for them. If it works for them, it can work for me. So I do kind of see a bit of an awakening happening, and I think that in mass, certainly that can be very powerful to create change.
That's beautiful, and that's so important because that actually is my own personal mission, is to help pet parents awaken through their animals by doing less and being more. So being more with their pets and doing less to manipulate their lives. Letting a dog be a dog is perhaps the best treatment that we can do for a lot of things.
Mm-hmm. And when
Letting nature find its natural balance. Because what we do is imbalance and greater. And I think the voice that you're saying, I think we all have that voice, that inner voice. It's very quiet in some of us. And the loud voices all around us, whether it's Facebook, whether it's media, they're gonna, our friends, our family, that may be what's keeping more of us from awakening. But yeah, I think, when I hear Eckhart Tolle talk about 6,000 people came to hear him in Russia, I think that's all he talks about is awakening through animals, through nature, through our senses, and all things that are readily available for all of us.
Yeah, and when you talk about letting a dog be a dog, when you think about letting a cat be a cat, for some of us it can be more, some of us that maybe live in big cities, we're living in a high rise, there's not a whole lot, it's all concrete. It can be more difficult, but it's still doable. We can still manipulate our environment to bring things in to allow them some sort of time in nature, to let them be. I know Rodney Habib and Dr. Karen Becker kind of illuminated to a huge audience that, the longest lived dogs, the thing they had in common was that they either lived or spent the majority of their lives outside. And that was kind of, everybody was like, oh, it's what they ate. It's what they ate. And I'm sure that had something to do with it. But the one thing, their diets were not in common. The fact that they spent so much time outside is what they had in common. And I do think it, again, like as a cat mom, like I do have a harder time thinking about just I wouldn't want to just let my cats outside without, a lot of supervision and safety in place. But still, they need nature too.
They do, for sure, but I do hit a very, very important point that nature does provide the framework, and it is really, really great to let your dog go out for therapeutic sniff walk or your cat to watch birds through the window, because I'm a cat parent as well. I've lived with cats my entire life, and I've never had an outdoor cat, because there's a factor that trumps, that goes above diet and nature, and that is happiness and joy and love.
Mhm.
And we can all provide that to our pets, and we do that through my favorite holistic action, which is the happiness protocol, which basically is finding out what makes your cat or your dog the happiest, doing it, doubling it, and then evaluating the response to what you're doing. And I've seen the happiness protocol transform more lives, whether it's indoor cats or outdoor dogs or myself. And we know it does this for people as well. And this was the basis of Marty Seligman's work that became positive psychology in the 80s at Penn. Dr. Seligman was developing this theory that maybe psychology is backwards. That instead of focusing on depression and anxiety and other, disorders, diseases, let's focus on what makes you the happiest and see what happens. And guess what? When you do that, those things all go away. That's pretty much the same thing with dogs and cats, and it translates into physiology as well. So you can watch kidney values and liver values get better and better and better as dogs get more happy meals, as they get more happy snacks or therapeutic sniff walks or love therapy or my favorite, which is the happy dance. Every night on Zoom for free is laughter yoga. So come join me and a couple hundred people from around the world. Just sing and dance and play like kids and laugh for half an hour every day.
That's awesome. They do say laughter is the best medicine, right? When we think about spirituality and incorporating that into pet parenting, into the relationship that we have with our pets, I know, like, it's just the tip of the iceberg, but one of the things that I recommend to pretty much all of my clients is to every day for at least 10 or 15 minutes put on a YouTube meditation with their pets in the room or their pet in the room. And I'm like, I know this is a really small thing, but there's always so much pushback. Like, that's the one thing they want to like dig in on. And they're like, I don't have time for that. I'm like, you need to make time for that. And maybe meditation won't be for you, and that's okay. You can find meditation and taking a walk in nature or, other things, but like get started and bring yourself in the present, in the moment, and allow your pet to do that as well. And I really like to see like what happens when they intentionally do that with their pet, because I know if I am with my cats and I'm meditating, there are certain ones of them that will get right by my legs and like lay right against my legs, and there are certain ones that want to be on my chest or around my head. If I'm doing it with my dog, she is right next to me as well. She's like right by my side and like pushed up next to me. So like I know there's value in it for them as well. How do you make sense of that for me?
You just did a beautiful job because, we share that energy flow with our pets, and they are super good judges of our own energy flow, meaning that smooth energy flow, like a smoothly flowing river, is how you are when you're operating, in the meditative zone or when you're just thoughtless, which is what I was just. So sorry about that.
No, it's fine.
But conversely, when we get anxious, when we get upset, when we get stressed, our pets are able to sense that as well. And that, again, is a shared energy that, the meditation is helping to smooth out. But a lot of people are not going to meditate with their animals, if at all. So like Eckhart, I just ask people to please just take a couple of conscious breaths a couple times a day. And that is enough. And I have seen lives transformed just by people liking it so much that they ended up doing 3 or 5 or 10, and then they said, oh, I had to start meditating. So yeah, and we have these great, beautiful vehicles for doing that, and that's just look at your dog, look at your cat's eyes, and you're right in the now with them. Your mind is free of all thoughts about the future, worry, anxiety, even if it's for only 3 seconds a day or 3 seconds a couple times a day. And that's the beginning, because the reality is, whether we know it or not, it's there. The energy, the spirit is all around us. We are swimming in energy. I mean, the magician, whose name was Albert Einstein, taught us that mass and energy are interchangeable. That all those oxygens are, it's like the joke fish in the fishbowl, and one of the fish is swimming by and asks, how's the water, guys? And the other fish said, water? What water? What's water? We don't even know it's there, and it can be harnessed through that spirit. And yes, the more you are able to quiet your mind, the more that you're able to focus on the now, like animals are always doing. They're always focusing on the now. Whether we can help them bring us into that presence, the better. The better the world will be.
Yeah, actually, that's so very true. And it actually reminded me of something else that came out with, I think it came out with the Forever Dog book, that they found people who are like highly stressed at their jobs when they come home, if the very first thing they do is jump in the shower and then interact with their pets, like it makes a drastic difference in their pet's behavior as well, because they've kind of washed that off of their body. And it's so telling that, you know, there are these things that just because we can't see them, we kind of in our current society have dismissed them. But they're just because we can't see them, they're still very, very real and very, very impactful. So they do deserve our attention and our focus. When maybe it's not going so well, we need to refocus on the positive.
Pet your dog, pet your kitty, get them to purr on your chest, and you'll stimulate your vagus nerve and go right from sympathetic to parasympathetic, which is the first step in healing, is to get out of the sympathetic fight or flight mode and get into that rest, relax, and restore mode.
Mm-hmm.
We all have one thing that we all do every day that will bring us right into that zone. And what do we do every day that we can harness to do that? And that is our breath.
Mm-hmm.
And there are ways to breathe that will allow us to calm right down. And a great book that I would, speaking of which, that combines science and spirituality is this book by James Nestor. I don't know if you've seen it.
Oh, okay. Breath. The new science. Okay, James Nestor, Nestor.
Yes, and I'll be happy to share that. But yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
That's a great book, and there's tons others like that.
Yeah. I hate to say I didn't participate. I didn't make it a priority like I should have. I have been following Gary Brecka. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but I did a guides people through like fasts and different things. So I did a 3-day fast with him, and his next workshop was a breath workshop, and I signed up for it, and then I didn't follow through. And I'm like, I really wish I had have done that, because it's like once you learn it, you just have to remember to do it, right? Yeah, and it can be so impactful, so impactful. And I think that's what he says. Like we have it sounds silly, but we've forgotten how to, like, how many days do you go and you don't take a full deep breath? Like most of us can't remember the last time we took a full deep breath. And I try to be intentional about that at least once a day, to like breathe really deeply for, you know, maybe do some box breathing or something. But it can completely change the entire feeling in your body. And that, again, as you were saying, our pets feel that. So especially if they are already in some sort of state of dis-ease, it can be so impactful for them too. Yeah, that's awesome. And that's just some of the education that I know you put out. So tell me a little bit more about HA, or Holistic Actions, and what you do there, what kind of content you put out, and how pet parents can participate.
Well, thank you so much for asking, Jessica. We start usually with what the individual's challenges are, what's going on with your pet at this time. So HA, the center of HA is forum, a Q&A forum, where you can go on any day, 7 days a week, and ask your question, upload your diagnostic data, however much you want to share about your animal's challenge. Get my input, get the other vet input, get the community input, and that's the tip of the iceberg. Because then we also do webinars with holistic leaders around the world every week on Monday. There's hundreds of hours of resources that are all available, digital resources that you can access anytime, that basically breaks down the body via vitality imbalance. So the model that we're talking about, it's like, how do we look at liver disease? How do we look at IBD? How do we look at allergies? And then the last part is a one-on-one coaching call. If you so desire, as an HA member, you get I think it's a $30 or 15-minute call with one of the vets or the grief counselor or the trainer or the groomer, whoever you need to try and help empower you, because that's really what AJ is there for, is to help empower you all for helping your pet be the best they can be and have the best lives they can have, because they deserve it. And they are naturally inclined to have the best lives that they can have until we get in the way. And we may get in the way by vet care, maybe a emotional, a mental thing, maybe that we have a fixed mindset about, oh, my 12-year-old cat is an old cat, and he's not gonna, no, that's a middle-aged cat.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Gail Pope, I don't know if you know Gail. Gail is the founder of Bright Haven Sanctuary and a leader in hospice. She has something called the Love Sandwich. And the Love Sandwich is basically, well, she would rescue pets, usually health challenge pets that were like 15, 16, 17 years old, lead with love, then apply homeopathy and other supportive care, and at the end of life, apply love, and those 17-year-old dying animals would live up to another decade or more. I mean, I think her oldest challenge animal was in the 30s.
Wow. That's amazing. That's just incredible.
We can all do it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, especially once we can shift out of the convenience mindset that our society has put us in.
Thank you for saying that, because I realize now that is the mindset, but it's actually the fear mindset. Because of that fear, we want something fast and convenient. But if that fear isn't there, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd probably still want to nowadays.
No, our brains definitely are like, that's too hard. Please stop.
Yeah. Please do it for me, and that's I think the biggest thing that we need to learn is that we have to do it ourselves.
Yeah. But that fear mindset is, and that sadly, I think also it keeps a lot of pet parents in that loop of constantly going back to the veterinarian for the same thing over and over and over again, and feeding the food that the veterinarian sells behind the desk, and getting that postcard in the mail, and scheduling that appointment, and it keeps them in that loop. And I think it keeps our veterinarians in that loop as well, because that's all they know, and they don't, unless they take the initiative to learn outside of that box. It's like, this is it, and they're scared to break out of it, I think.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. We come out of vet school with a very, very, very small toolkit. And we can learn, we can go to Home Depot and have a toolkit that was very expensive. And yeah, no, I think that veterinarians are very much overwhelmed by what you just said, that they're not able to help in the way they know they can help if they were able to think outside the box. But there's a lot of pressure to stay in that box, and that, whether it's your box, your mind, your brain is filled with facts. When you get out of vet school, you'll have hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt. So you've got to go to work right away. And who are you going to work for? Usually one of the corporate veterinary practices nowadays. And yeah, they're not invested in empowering you all. They want to keep it all. So you have to keep going back to the vet, and the more you go to the vet, the more fear you're gonna get. And yeah, there was a wonderful holistic veterinarian who passed away last year. Unfortunately, she used to be an equine vet, and then she became a small animal vet. The equine people, she said, were really good at supporting each other and not going to the vet that often, so they were much more holistically oriented. She found that the small animal people would go to the vet for everything.
Mm-hmm.
My dog has got an itch or a bad ear or, some diarrhea, so we got to go to the vet. Before we go, I don't know how long you want to record. We can go as long as you want, but before we go, I do want to talk a little bit about, there's Archie and his beam paradigm behind me. I have to show you. Archie is right here. It's my
Yeah.
rescue dog. Oh,
Oh, how sweet. Okay,
yeah.
yes, I see him at the
But
top of the...
yeah, there he is. But he is right now with us in spirit only because his physical body actually gave up in January, but not before
Mm,
passing on this information about Beam and the happiness protocol and breathing and all this stuff that helped him tremendously because we were his fifth home. And he had a really, really hard life before he came to us. But back to Beam. Beam as in the balance beam, where the sunbeam is an acronym: behavior, energy, appetite, and mood. Those are the four things that will help inform you whether any individual symptom is really a symptom that you need to be immediately rushing off to the vet at the ER for. So I'll
mhm.
just give you a quick example from HA from the past couple days, and that is, a red ear or ear infection, or another pet that had diarrhea or vomiting, but their beams were all normal. So what that meant is that their energy flow was really not that disturbed by this individual symptom, which was the body's way off inside. And you can correct those individual symptoms very, very quickly and easily, often with the actions that we just spoke about as far as going outside or snuffling or happy meals or happy dance. So yeah, maybe focus on beam and quality of life, not individual symptoms. Other podcasts at some point about the symptom paradigm and how symptoms are an expression of spirit. How
Mm,
symptoms are the body's way and nature's way of letting you know that you need to deal with the underlying energy imbalance.
yeah,
And that's where homeopathy and all the other actions that we talked about come in.
awesome. Yes, I do remember getting that first email, I think, when you sent the beam, and I was like, that is so on point. Like, yes, thank you for that. Um, it is a different way than what most people are used to, pet parenting. But it's, again, I've said this word so many times, it's so empowering when you take that position and say, okay, let me assess everything that's going on with my pet. Maybe I don't need to run to the emergency vet at 11 o'clock on a Sunday morning because my dog has diarrhea right now. Like, there's, which happens far too often, I'm sure, but it is really, really empowering to be able to assess, to be connected to your pet in a way that you can feel like how their mood is, how their energy is. They're still doing great. They're still eating. They're still drinking. They're still going to the bathroom as normal. Then, okay, maybe let's call our vet on Monday morning and get some advice instead of freaking out and running to the emergency vet. Like, it's very empowering to be able to do that and to have that kind of awareness of yourself and your pets. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome,
Yeah.
and thank you for appreciating it, because it really, not only does it help you evaluate, but it allows you to detect diseases early. So an early detection of disease means that you can intervene more quickly, because that dog with diarrhea on the weekend with holistic actions. By the time they go to the vet on Monday or Tuesday, may not even have to go.
Yeah, absolutely. So where can people find you? How can they join Holistic Actions? Where is all of that located?
Holistic Actions with nest.com on the web, Instagram. We have a free private Facebook group, so anyone that wants to join there. Anyone can Google any question, add in Holistic Actions Forum, and you'll be directed to a post on the forum that have already discussed that. So, only members can post their questions, but everyone is available to search the forum.
Oh, that's interesting and really, really good to know. Okay, holisticactions.com, and then it's also Holistic Actions on Facebook and Instagram.
It is. It is.
Perfect.
And YouTube, actually, I think we have a lot of stuff on, a couple hundred YouTube videos.
That's awesome. Yes, please go subscribe there as well. So, yes, thank you so much for being here. I would love to have you back, and we can talk more about symptoms and energetic imbalances and all of that wonderful stuff. Now that my audience is a little bit more familiar with you, we could probably go into more detail and not freak them out. I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, let me know how that goes, because that's one of my main intents. Try not to freak people out too much.
Yeah, I don't know if it just is what it is anymore. If I freak you out, I'm sorry. It just is what it is.
Hell, I mean, you're so sweet and well balanced that I can't believe they used to freak anyone out. But thank you.
Oh, the internet is a beautiful and nasty place. Yeah, but anyway, thank you so very much for being here. Guys, check out holisticactions.com. Find Dr. Jeff on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And I highly recommend checking out the forum, joining the group, the Holistic Actions group, and finding out more. Even if you're just searching at first, that's okay. Learn a little bit and then dive in. So thank you again, Dr. Jeff, for being here. And everybody, y'all have a wonderful rest of your week ahead.